See, one thing about life, you don't always get applause while you're in the process. Some people won't see your value until they can't call you no more. They'll laugh at your silence, mock your discipline, and question your distance until that distance turns into success. And that's when they realize they lost something they'll never find again. The truth is, being misunderstood is part of the journey. You gon' lose people when you start winning in peace. You gon' lose love when you start loving yourself. But don't trip. That's not your loss. It's theirs. Because one day they gon' look back and say, damn, I should have appreciated that soul when I had access to it. So let's talk about what it really means when they regret losing you. See, one of the hardest lessons you gon' learn in life is that when you start growing, it ain't always everybody gon' ride with you. Some people, they can't handle growth. Not yours, not theirs, not nobody else's. And that's because when you start elevating, you start showing people a reflection of themselves they don't want to see. You become a mirror they weren't ready to face. You see, growth ain't just about stacking money or getting clout or checking boxes. Growth is about discipline. Growth is about accountability. Growth is about truth even when it stings. And a lot of people live comfortable in excuses. They live in denial. They live in the illusion that nothing has to change. But when you start living real, when you start chasing your purpose, your presence shines a light on all the corners they've been hiding in. That reflection, it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them defensive. It makes them question why they've been standing still while you're moving forward. And that discomfort, if they can't handle it, it makes them distance themselves from you. It ain't about what you did wrong. It ain't even about you. It's about them finally facing what they've been avoiding. Think about it. Every time you elevate, you breaking an old version of yourself. Every time you level up, you shedding parts of you that used to be weak, parts of you that used to tolerate less than you deserve, parts of you that used to accept noise that ain't yours to carry. But the people around you, they might still be holding on to the old you, the you before you started demanding more of yourself. And when you show up in this new light, it's confusing to them. Your glow bothers them. Your silence confuses them. Your peace triggers them because you ain't chasing validation no more. You ain't worried about being liked or understood or approved. You just living right, and that makes some folks uneasy. But let me tell you this, the very energy they can't handle, the very discipline they can't match, the very focus they can't see themselves sustaining, that's exactly what they gon' regret losing once it's gone. Once you pull back your energy, once you stop giving access to your time, your attention, your wisdom, they gonna start realizing you weren't competition. You weren't someone to beat. You were motivation they ignored. You were an example they dismissed. And now that example ain't theirs to manipulate or overlook no more. I've seen it happen 100 times, and I ain't just talking hypotheticals. I lived it. I remember when I was selling mixtapes out the trunk of my car. People laughed at me. People called it a hustle that wouldn't last. People told me, man, why you out here wasting time? Go get a real job. And I ain't never let that stop me, but I noticed how they treated me during that grind. They didn't see the hours, the sacrifice, the planning, the vision. They only saw what they wanted to see, someone struggling. Fast forward a few years, and now those same people be quoting me on social media. They sending messages they wouldn't have sent back then. They showing respect they wouldn't have given back then, and that's the thing. You see, the light they couldn't stand when it was next to them becomes the very light they're searching for when it's gone. And by then, it's too late to catch up because the energy that was theirs to take for granted is no longer available. And that's a powerful lesson in life. You don't need to convince people of your worth. You show them through your actions, your discipline, your consistency. They're gonna recognize it eventually. Sometimes it take absence. Sometimes it take distance. Sometimes it take them realizing what they lost. And I want you to understand, this ain't about hate. This ain't about holding grudges. This is about realizing your value and protecting it. When people start trying to bring you down or distance themselves, it's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of where they at in their life. Some people can't handle excellence in another person because it shines a light on the mediocrity they've been accepting for themselves. And you can't waste energy trying to explain yourself to folks who are not ready to hear it. You just keep doing you. You just keep grinding. You just keep showing up with intention. And what they gon' feel when they lose access to that energy, that's regret. That's the kind of regret that hits deep because they finally see that what they had was rare, it was real, it was solid, and they let it slip through their hands. Life will test you with people who don't see your value. Life gon' put you in rooms where your presence goes unnoticed. Life gonna challenge you to stay loyal, stay focused, stay disciplined even when nobody else around you doing the same. But those tests are the reason you become unforgettable. Those tests are the reason your absence speaks louder than your presence ever could. And you gonna notice how people change when they realize you ain't there no more. They start sending messages, showing respect, acknowledging things they used to overlook. They realize that every time you gave advice, every time you showed loyalty, every time you stayed true, that was power, that was impact, that was energy they had access to but chose to undervalue. And now it's gone. I want you to think about your own life for a second. Who's in your circle that don't really see your vision? Who's around you that complain when you do something right or distance themselves when you start making moves? Those are the people who gonna regret losing you. That's not a threat, it's a fact. It's the natural order of life, because people don't always recognize real until it's absent. They don't always respect discipline until it's unshakable. They don't always understand purpose until it's untouchable. And the most powerful lesson here is this: you don't owe them nothing. You don't need validation from folks who didn't invest in your journey. You just need to keep building, keep growing, keep being the real one that they gon' miss. And when they miss you, when that energy ain't available to them no more, that's when the light finally hits them. The reflection, the mirror, the truth they weren't ready for. They gon' see it all. And it's gon' hurt because they let it go. They ignored it, they overlooked it, they laughed at it. But you'll already be far ahead, already building more, already living the life they said you couldn't. I want y'all to remember this: your growth, your discipline, your focus, that's your power. Protect it. Don't let people dim it. Don't let people take it for granted. And understand when they leave, when they doubt, when they push back, it's only making you stronger, more resilient, more unforgettable. They gonna regret losing you because the energy, the wisdom, the light you bring, that's not something that comes around twice. That's rare. That's legacy. And that's why you keep moving forward, no matter who don't see it, no matter who laughs, no matter who distances themselves. Because life ain't about them recognizing you while you grind. It's about you building in silence, showing up in excellence, and letting absence teach the lesson they wouldn't hear while you was there. And that's the beauty of this life. You're gonna get people who hate. You're gonna get people who doubt. You're gonna get people who don't recognize your value. But you also gonna see the ones who come back around. You gonna see the ones who finally understand. You gonna see the respect they couldn't give you when you was right in front of them. And when that happens, you ain't gotta say nothing. Your success, your peace, your energy, it speaks for itself. And they gonna feel it every day. They ain't got it anymore. That's how you know you were real. That's how you know your light was undeniable. And that's how you know that what you built, what you became, what you represented, that wasn't ever replaceable. So keep pushing, keep grinding, keep being that mirror, keep being that light. And when they finally see what they lost, let it remind you of this: you were never the problem, you were always the gift. And the world gonna eventually recognize it, even if it take absence to do it. See, a lot of people don't understand the power of absence. They think showing up all the time, always being available, always bending over backwards is proof of loyalty, proof of value. But real wisdom comes when you understand that your presence ain't always the teacher. Sometimes your absence teaches the lessons your presence could never get across. Some people, they can't hear you while you talking. You can drop knowledge on them, you can give them advice, you can show them examples over and over again. But if they ain't ready to internalize it, it don't matter. They'll nod, they'll smile, they'll act like they listening, but inside they ain't changed a bit. That's when you realize that some lessons can't be taught, they gotta be felt. And the only way they gon' feel it is when you remove yourself. When you step away, you don't need to say a word. That silence carries weight. That void becomes the echo of everything you tried to tell them, everything you tried to show them, every piece of wisdom they took for granted. That absence starts speaking louder than your voice ever could. And it hits different when it's filled with guilt, missed opportunities, and unspoken apologies. Because now, they feeling it, they feeling the nights you stayed up grinding while they slept. They feeling the patience you gave while they wasted your time. They feeling the loyalty you showed while they treated it like it was nothing. And that's the power. You don't gotta convince nobody of your value. You show them by walking away, by protecting your energy, by respecting yourself enough to step back from people who ain't valuing the gift you bring. In real life, you see it everywhere. You see it in relationships. That partner who thought they could take your love for granted, the one who thought your loyalty was infinite, When you leave, when you detach, they feel it. They feel the emptiness where your heart used to be. They realize that love like yours ain't easy to find, and it sure as hell ain't replaceable. You don't just show up in someone's life. You bring energy, you bring peace, you bring intention. And when that energy ain't there no more, they feel the weight of their mistakes. They feel the lesson you tried to teach all along, only now it's hitting them the hard way. You see it in friendships too. That friend who switched up, that one who was only around when it was convenient, the one who never matched your loyalty or effort. When you step away, that absence exposes the truth. Peace don't hit the same when you gone. Energy don't feel right when you ain't around. And they start to recognize that what they thought was replaceable never was. Because you weren't just a friend, they were lucky to have you. And some people don't realize luck until it leaves them. That's how absence works. It makes people confront reality they were too blind to see before. It's the same in business. That coworker who underestimated your input, the one who never valued your perspective or your contribution. When deadlines start slipping, when decisions go wrong, when the results don't stack up the same way, they start missing your voice. Your absence becomes proof of what they lacked while you were there. And it ain't just about recognition, it's about respect. They realize too late that they should have listened, that they should have appreciated, that they should have invested in your ideas rather than dismissing them. Your absence becomes the mirror showing them all the ways they failed to recognize your value, and trust me, that sting is a lesson they won't forget. And let me tell you, this ain't about revenge. This ain't about petty payback or trying to make people feel guilty. This is about clarity. This is about teaching people what they couldn't learn while you was in their life. This is about protecting your energy and understanding that some lessons can't be heard. They have to be experienced. And absence, when done with purpose, is one of the most powerful teachers there is. It's like a silent instructor showing up in ways that words could never match. And that's when regret shows its face, when they realize that what they had access to, what they took for granted, what they thought was infinite, they can't get it back. That's when regret becomes their teacher. And that lesson hits deep because it ain't abstract no more. It's real, it's tangible, and it's permanent. The truth is, people will always test you. They'll try to drain your energy. They'll try to bend your boundaries. They'll try to make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. But you gotta remember, your absence isn't abandonment, it's accountability. It's the universe giving them a chance to see themselves through your departure. And if they don't get it, that ain't on you. That's on them. And the beauty of it is your life keeps moving forward while they stuck caught processing what they lost. You keep growing, you keep shining, you keep showing up for yourself in ways they never could. And that's the lesson that leaves the biggest impact. I want you to think about the people in your life who don't value your time, your energy, your presence. Maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a colleague. And now imagine pulling back, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of respect for yourself. You step away from the chaos, the distraction, the draining energy, and suddenly the room feels different to them. The dynamic changes. The peace you brought, the focus you provided, the stability you created, they realize it when it's gone. And that realization comes with regret. They begin to understand what they lost, and they start reflecting on the way they treated you, the way they took you for granted, the way they ignored your guidance. See, absence is powerful because it's not loud. It doesn't yell, it doesn't argue, it doesn't fight, it just exists. And in that quiet, your worth speaks volumes. People feel what they can't hear, they see what they can't touch. They recognize what they can't replace, and when that hits, it becomes a lesson they remember for life. They start changing their perspective. They start valuing the next person better because they finally felt what it's like to lose someone who actually cared, who actually showed up, who actually invested in them. And that's how your absence teaches the lessons your presence couldn't. Because sometimes the only way people learn is through experience, and experience has no substitute. So when you start noticing people slipping away, don't panic, don't try to force recognition or demand appreciation. Just understand that by stepping back, you're giving them the chance to feel what they took for granted. And in the process, you're protecting yourself, your peace, and your energy. And the universe has a way of rewarding you for that patience, for that wisdom, for that discipline. Because your energy ain't cheap, your presence ain't common, and your loyalty ain't replaceable. And the people who realize that too late, that's their lesson, that's their regret. And all you gotta do is keep moving, keep shining, and keep being the person they wish they never let go. See, one of the realest things about life is that a lot of people don't want to see you outwork them. They talk a good game, they dream a good dream. They say a lot of words, but they ain't willing to put in the time, the effort, the sacrifice. While they busy talking about what they gon' do, you're out there doing it. While they busy dreaming, you're building. While they busy chasing validation, you're chasing growth. And that right there is where the gap starts showing. That's where they start realizing that what they said don't match what you did. And that truth stings more than anything. See, it's easy to talk. Anybody can talk. Anybody can paint a picture of a life they wish they had. Anybody can throw out big words about ambition, about grind, about changing the world. But when it comes time to actually do it, to commit, to stay consistent, to sacrifice, that's when most people fold. But you didn't fold. You turned your talk into action. You stopped talking about dreams and you built them. You stopped chasing attention and started chasing results. And when you do that, people can't help but notice. But sometimes that notice don't come in the way you want. Sometimes they ignore it at first. Sometimes they doubt. Sometimes they even laugh. But one day they gon' see it, and when they see it, that's when the regret hits. People regret losing you when they realize you became everything they said they wanted to be, but they didn't have the heart to grind for it. They didn't have the patience. They didn't have the discipline. They didn't have the courage to take the hits, to fail, to rise back up, and to stay consistent. You took every setback, every mistake, every moment of doubt, and you turned it into momentum. You turned your pain into power. You turned your mistakes into movement. You turned your silence into success. And when they see you living that life, when they see the results, the consistency, the discipline, the energy, it reminds them of every time they laughed at your vision, every time they doubted your timing, every time they thought you wouldn't make it. And that regret, that feeling of missed opportunity, it hits deep because they finally recognize what they lost when they chose to talk instead of act. Look at anybody who made it. Every visionary, every entrepreneur, every person who left a mark, they had people who didn't believe in them. Even Nipsey, when he started talking about the marathon, about ownership, about building a legacy is in South Central, people doubted him. People laughed at him. People said it was too risky, said it wouldn't work, said it was impossible. But see, those words never stopped him. Those doubts never broke him. He kept showing up, kept grinding, kept building. And now the same people who doubted him are quoting his words, applying his strategies, and respecting what they ignored before. That's the reality of legacy. It don't ask for validation while you building it. It don't care if people get it today. It demands recognition over time, and it rewards the ones who stayed committed, stayed disciplined, stayed real when nobody else was watching. When you elevate, that's exactly what happens. Your elevation exposes the difference between action and talk, between vision and distraction, between consistency and excuses. And that gap, that's where regret lives. That's where people start realizing that you weren't just lucky, you weren't just in the right place at the right time, you were deliberate, you were intentional, you put in the work every single day in silence when nobody was cheering you on. And that work pays off. That work becomes proof that what they dismissed, what they doubted, what they laughed at, that was real, that was valuable, that was worth it. And now it's gone, and that regret becomes the echo of their own inaction. And let me tell you something about people's reaction to your success. It ain't always positive. Some people will try to downplay it, diminish it, or act like it ain't a big deal. But don't get it twisted. That's just envy and misunderstanding. They don't regret losing you yet. They just don't get it yet. But the moment they see the consistency, the dedication, the results that came from your grind, that's when the lesson hits. That's when they start wishing they put in the work. That's when they start realizing that you live the reality they only talked about. And that's why your presence, your work ethic, your vision, it's powerful. Because it ain't just about what you build, it's about the way it exposes truth. The truth about effort. The truth about discipline. The truth about who's willing to pay the price and who ain't. The thing about life is that it rewards action over words, results over intentions, and consistency over excitement. Anybody can start strong. Anybody can talk a good game, but the ones who really win, they the ones who show up every day, rain or shine, doing the work, no matter what anybody else thinks. And when you become that person, that example, that energy, that's when people start looking back, wondering why they didn't match your hustle, why they didn't respect your time, why they didn't value your presence. And that right there, that's the bittersweet part. They regret losing you because they realize too late that you weren't just another person in their life. You were the example they needed, the standard they should have followed, the energy they couldn't replicate. And it ain't about holding grudges. It ain't about bitterness. It's about understanding the natural order of things. Your grind, your dedication, your consistency, that's your power. Protect it. Don't dilute it. Don't waste it on people who don't see the value in it. And while you keep building, while you keep moving, while you keep living what they only talked about, they're going to be forced to confront the truth that they missed out on something real, something rare, something that can't be replaced. And that's the ultimate confirmation. That's the ultimate reward. The fact that they regret losing you shows that you kept going when they quit. The fact that they regret losing you shows that you stayed disciplined when they stayed distracted. The fact that they regret losing you shows that you turned your vision into reality while they stayed stuck in the talking stage. So understand this: when people doubt you, when people laugh at you, when people ignore your grind, don't stress it. Keep building, keep showing up, keep proving to yourself what you're capable of. And when they see it, when they feel it, when the regret sets in, they go and realize that what you lived, what you built, what you became, that wasn't something anybody could talk into existence. That was something earned. That was something created. That was something undeniable. And that right there, that feeling when people realize they lost something real, something loyal, something disciplined, something visionary, that's the power of living what they only talked about. That's the energy of turning dreams into reality. That's the way you leave a mark that can't be erased. And when that happens, the regret they feel, that's the proof that you were authentic. That's the proof that you were consistent. That's the proof that you kept grinding even when nobody believed, even when nobody noticed, even when nobody cared. So keep moving, keep building, keep living the life they only talked about. Keep proving yourself through action, through results, through consistency. And when they finally realize what they lost, let it remind you of this: you stayed true, you stayed committed, you stayed focused. You turned your vision into reality while they stayed stuck in conversation. And that right there, that's legacy. That right there, that's power. That right there, that's respect earned, not begged for, and it's something nobody can take away from you. Once you start operating on a level that most people can't touch, you start noticing a shift. You notice it in conversations and interactions, in relationships, even in business. Your mindset, your discipline, your focus, they operate at a frequency most people can't tune into. And that's natural, that's necessary, and that's a part of the grind. Some folks are going to say you changed. Some folks are going to say you're different. Some folks might even try to shame you for prioritizing your vision over their comfort. But nah, you ain't changed. You evolved. You stopped tolerating energy that didn't match your value. You stopped giving time to distractions that didn't multiply your growth. You started moving in alignment with purpose. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for the people who used to orbit your life. You see, real growth is isolating in some ways. It's selective. It's intentional. And that's when people start regretting losing you, because you ain't the same person they once had access to. Your boundaries are different. Your energy is protected. Your peace is prioritized, and that energy, it ain't easy to replace. Some people will try to imitate it. Some will try to recreate it, but what you built is unique to your hustle, to your grind, to your consistency. And that's why absence, distance, and protection of energy is so powerful. It teaches people the value of what they took for granted without you ever having to explain it. Think about it like this: when you start operating on your frequency, the distractions fall away, the fake energy, the shallow relationships, the people who never truly invested, they all get filtered out. And the ones who truly matter, the ones who understand and resonate with your purpose, they gravitate closer. That's how the universe balances energy. The absence of fake comfort exposes the presence of real energy. And once they recognize it, that's when regret becomes their teacher. They start thinking back on every moment they didn't match your effort, every time they doubted your vision, every time they underestimated the value of your presence. And that regret, it ain't just emotional, it's a wake-up call. It's a mirror showing them the difference between living with intention and living in excuses. And finally, let's talk about evolution and legacy. See, every step you take to protect your energy, to honor your time, to elevate your mind and your grind, that's building legacy. That's leaving something behind that outlives the temporary moments of misunderstanding or doubt. When people regret losing you, it ain't just about the moment they lost. It's about the life you built while they stayed distracted. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every failure turned into learning, every consistent action that becomes the proof that you were unstoppable. And when that hits them, it hits hard. They see your success, your stability, your peace, and they remember every time they doubted you. laughed at you, or ignored your vision. Legacy isn't about applause. Legacy ain't about recognition today. It's about walking in integrity, building in silence, and letting your life eventually speak louder than your words ever could. People might not get it while you're in the room, but eventually absence and consistency combined make them understand the truth. They lost someone rare. They lost someone who wasn't replaceable. They lost someone who turned their vision into action, their pain into power, their silence into results. And that regret becomes the echo of your greatness. So when you move through life, understand that some people ain't meant to ride with you all the way. Some people ain't meant to handle your energy. Some people won't recognize your value until they feel the absence of it. But that's not your problem, that's theirs. Your job is to keep grinding, keep building, keep evolving, and keep living with purpose. Because when you do what you leave behind, that's the thing they'll never forget. That's the thing they gonna regret losing. And that's the ultimate proof that your focus, your discipline, and your integrity mattered. That's the ultimate proof that while they were talking, you were building. And that's the essence of living a life so powerful, so intentional, so rare, that your absence teaches the lessons your presence never could, and your legacy speaks louder than anything else ever will. And that right there, that's the kind of life that leaves people thinking long after you gone, appreciating what they should have never taken for granted, and respecting the energy, the hustle, the grind, and the discipline that you put in when nobody else believed. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you make them regret losing you while still staying true to your purpose, your peace, and your vision. That's how you live a life in which every action, every decision, every sacrifice compounds into something undeniable. A life that proves the world recognizes real when it sees it, even if it takes time for them to admit it. Your evolution becomes the proof they needed. See, the most powerful thing about growth, about building, about leveling up, it's silent at first. People don't notice it while you grind. They don't see the late nights, the sacrifices, the failures you had to overcome just to get a little closer to your vision. They don't notice the discipline it takes to keep showing up when nobody's watching. But eventually, your life starts speaking for itself. And that's when the lessons hit, not because you said them, not because you tried to teach them, but because your success, your peace, your consistency, they can't ignore it no more. You see, most people live in the moment. They get caught up in what's happening right now. They see you building quietly, moving deliberately, and they underestimate it. They talk, they doubt, they question, but while they're busy doing that, you busy becoming the proof of everything you ever said you'd be. Your evolution is a living example. It's a mirror for those who doubted you, a message for those who disrespected you, and a reminder for those who never believed in you. And when they look back, when they finally see the results of what you built, that's when the regret sets in. Think about the people who underestimated Nipsey back in the day. They laughed at the vision of the marathon store. They questioned the purpose of ownership. They didn't understand why he invested so heavily in his community, or why he stayed focused on creating wealth instead of chasing instant fame. But the proof was in the results. The proof was in the legacy. The proof was in the lives touched, the jobs created, the example set. And that's the same lesson for you. Your evolution, your growth, your discipline, your ability to turn pain into power, struggle into strategy. That's the undeniable proof that you were real all along. Your life becomes the silent teacher, the example that shows people that action speaks louder than words, that discipline outweighs desire, and that consistency beats hype. And that's when they start feeling it. They realize that everything they doubted, everything they laughed at, everything they ignored, they missed out on it because they weren't willing to do the work. They weren't willing to stay patient. They weren't willing to believe in the process when it was uncomfortable. And now, that absence, that missed opportunity, that failure to invest in what was right in front of them, it turns into regret. But here's the thing, you don't need them to get it while you're still grinding. You don't need validation while you're putting in the work. Your evolution doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't beg for recognition. It just grows. It just multiplies. It just becomes undeniable. And the people who once doubted you, who once laughed at your vision, who once ignored your efforts, they gonna notice eventually. And when they do, that's the ultimate proof that you were right all along, that your discipline mattered, that your consistency paid off, and that your focus created something that can't be duplicated. Every step you take in silence, every late night, every early morning, every failure turned into a lesson, every setback turned into momentum, that's all proof. Proof that you understood your value, proof that you respected your vision, proof that you prioritized legacy over temporary approval. And when people finally see it, when they finally recognize it, the regret hits different. It's deep because it's tied to opportunity they let slip, to moments they ignored, to energy they failed to appreciate. And that's how life teaches. That's how evolution speaks. That's how your growth becomes undeniable. You see, the real victory ain't in proving them wrong. The real victory is in proving yourself right. The real victory is in showing up every day, in investing in your vision, and staying disciplined when nobody else is, in turning dreams into reality while the doubters talk and complain. And when that reality becomes visible, when that life becomes tangible, that's when your absence becomes their lesson, and your evolution becomes the proof that everything you did mattered, everything you believed in was worth it, and everything you built was real. That's the beauty of growth, of evolution, of discipline. It doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't need applause. It just keeps moving. It just keeps proving. And the people who once overlooked you, who once ignored you, who once doubted you, they feel it eventually, they regret it, they respect it. And that's how your evolution becomes the proof they needed all along, the undeniable evidence that your energy, your time, your loyalty, your focus, your vision, they weren't just words, they were a lifestyle, they were a standard, they were a legacy, and nobody can take that from you. So keep building, keep grinding, keep evolving, stay true to your vision, your purpose, and your process. Let your life become the proof, the silent teacher, the undeniable example. And when people finally realize what they lost, let it remind you of this. You were consistent when they doubted, disciplined when they ignored, and loyal when they didn't deserve it. Your evolution is your power, your legacy, your proof, and your gift to the world. And that right there is how people regret losing you while you keep winning. So when you start losing people, don't question your worth, question their capacity. Some can't handle real love, real vision, or real consistency, and that's okay, because in time they'll understand what they lost. They'll regret overlooking your loyalty. They'll regret playing with your energy. They'll regret not believing in your vision. But you go on, keep running your marathon. You go on, keep building, keep learning, keep shining, because your purpose don't stop for nobody's regret. And one day when they finally realize what they lost, you'll already be too far ahead to even look back. That's the power of becoming everything they said you couldn't be. That's the beauty of them regretting losing you.